Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cacawphony, the best named Ruby podcast? I think so. And with that said, I'm your totally unbiased host, Wolf, for this week, and I am joined by.
Hi, I'm Tiger.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Caff.
Thank you, Caff. With all of that out of the way, thank all of you for joining me this week, and we're here to go over another. I think I'm starting a theme as host where I get to cover the unusual and odd topics because this week we are covering concepts in our world and how they might work in Remnant. For example, movie making or the entertainment industry in general, and agriculture, sports, anything of the sort that you can come up with.
Medical.
I.e., anything that we don't actually see happening in the world of Remnant on Ruby itself, except Huntsman, Huntressing, and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
I'm not gonna, that's too lewd.
Oh, yeah, we're not gonna bring up the loot stuff, but like we're just talking about all the things that we don't actually see in Ruby in the world of Remnant. I mean, this is literally a world with superpowers and monsters and all that, and all we get to see is the action stuff. And while the action stuff is cool, but in a world of superpowers, we should also get to see how they use it in day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm. Big on the
Yes, you
world
see
building,
this.
here we are.
Yes, you see the guy who has the ability to levitate absolutely any object in the world, and he chooses it to levitate a beer from his fridge to his mouth.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's just like in Harry Potter. It's like, well, we see them how they're in high school. How are they like in the workforce?
Yeah. But let's remind everyone that not everyone has a semblance. The only the first before you get a semblance, you need to unlock your aura. Not everyone has their aura unlocked. Not everyone bothers with it.
I mean, I think you can still have your. I think you can still have a semblance. It's just you require an aura to use it.
As
Like
far as we're
that's a
aware.
So you
as
re-
far
so you need to unlock your aura before you can unlock your semblance, or
yeah, that's
before you
we
can even.
yes, we it's been confirmed in the show. We've seen it happen. Like it's been said that first you unlock your aura and then you get in the process of unlocking your semblance. That's what they said to Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone unlocks their semblance before the aura and accidentally kills himself. Oh shit!
I'm not sure that
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not sure that's
again,
how it
like,
works.
we don't quite know if semblances require or to be used, but the assumption is there because of what's been stated and said within the show. Getting on topic specifically, though, let's jump right into it. Do you think there would be concepts from our world that could exist in Remnant but would be different?
Yeah, here's a question that's been brought up once I discussed it with friends. Like in the entertainment industry, something that us humans seem to love for some really weird reason is the genre of horror. Now, in a world with monsters that are literally attracted to fear, do you think that they would have that genre?
ooh, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. I was going to bring something like that up, too.
That's the
I can
that's the
I,
thing. Is it a good idea?
I
I
can
don't think it's
totally imagine.
particularly a good idea, but I think it could exist because horror movies are just like it's like jump scares, like brief horror, like brief fear, not lasting, and so
I
we
can
don't know.
totally imagine. Oh, sorry.
So we don't know like how long does a negative emotion have to exist at all for a Grim to be attracted to it? Does it have to be
But
prolonged, or can it just be like a flash of it? And if it's like
also,
a and if they're not attracted to flashes of fear, maybe it'd be fine to have horror movies.
yeah, but on the other hand, think of, for example, movie theaters where there's a bunch of people all in one place, all feeling suddenly scared for like an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, something like
Mm,
that.
yeah, you
That's a beacon for Grimm.
you
Mm-hmm.
raise a good
Unintended.
point.
Oh, but the
You raise a
question
good
is,
point.
it could because like in the theater there aren't that many people as compared to the amount of people outside the theater. So would they be drowned out by the other
Maybe.
emotions?
The question is, do positive emotions counter negative ones in a way that they're neutralized, or do negative emotions just stand out from all others?
Or would you be able to detect a negative emotion amongst a sea of positive ones?
Possibly. Who knows? Like
Well, the
how
Grim though.
like don't you think? I think that they have enough horror in their lives as is, with creatures of grim clawing at their walls, and the huntsmen and huntresses maybe not there to rescue them.
And
It's not
Cordovan
the.
with her massive battle mech.
I mean,
Yes.
do keep in mind, right? Like looking at some of the grim designs, I think most of us would agree. Like if you met this in our world, we would definitely be afraid of that because it's very scary looking. I mean,
And giant,
that too. But
mostly.
like we now live in a world with Ruby Volume 6, and we got the apathy, something that they genuinely, I think, did really well at making seem scary within this world, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah.
thinking of that, right? Like, do horror movies even exist in this world when you have stuff like that exists? When you have the grim that exists? When you have things like the apathy? Do you even need horror movies anymore?
Oh yeah, just shove your child in a room with an apathy. There we go.
No. That's like
Not the
I
they
guess
point.
you
don't
could.
need to.
I guess you.
They don't need to shove children in rooms with apathy. That's called becoming a teenager.
I guess you could say that the parents are pretty apathetic to the child's plight.
But
Hey, no. Okay, moving along from the point. Here's another question. Back to the topic of semblances. Right? We said like we could see some people using semblances not in a huntsman huntressy type fashion. Like we saw it
Mhm.
once in volume 6 when they tried to sneak out of um what's the name?
Argus.
Argus, that's it. When they tried to sneak out of Argus, we have little baby Adrian screaming at the top of his lungs. That's obviously a semblance.
I don't.
But
I
what
think they said that it wasn't a semblance; that it was just comedic effect in the commentary.
really?
I
Are we
think
sure
so.
about
I
that?
mean,
There's your
like,
answer to
I,
that.
I, I, as a person who's been around my multiple nephews, babies can scream that loud naturally, yes.
Huh. Oh well. But anyway, that aside, still, the point is, how could you imagine semblances used by people in other professions? Like imagine using semblances in movies for quote unquote effects. It wouldn't be effects because it would be like the real deal, but it would look like effects and it would make things a lot cooler.
Ooh, that would be neat. I could see someone like using a speed semblance to move the camera around like really fast instead of just jump cuts like normal. Like that would
Ooh,
be an interesting effect.
yeah, especially for action movies.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Would you? The question is though, like, would that not be needlessly complicating things? Potentially, like, I mean, to be fair, right? Like, we don't have someone who can move super fast in this world, so we don't know exactly how that would work
Hmm.
comparatively
Yeah,
to a jump cut.
it
Yeah.
would
But
depend.
we do know
It would.
jump cuts are fairly simple and easy to do and work. So,
So maybe that's not the best example, but
No, it's
but for
not.
here's
example,
an
for
idea,
example,
if you don't mind me interrupting.
go ahead.
Sports, semblances and aura within sports. Like we know
Ooh.
we know fighting tournaments exist because of Amity or because of the Vital
Volume
Festival and
3.
yeah, in Volume 3. So we know that's kind of a thing that exists. But what about other sports like maybe basketball, football, aka American hand egg ball, football, aka soccer? What
I
about
mean,
things of that nature?
I can imagine that there's a hard ban on things like semblances because if you think about it, all it
Why
takes is
though?
just having that one. All it takes is just having that one person on that team that can, uh, I don't know, whatever projectile they throw is with unnerving accuracy, and then it's
Fair, but
kind of what's the point?
but also at the same time, like why not if everyone can unlock aura in their own unique semblance, right?
Hmm.
Like you could definitely have an entire team of very unique
Hmm.
semblances. Like take basketball for instance, having
Yeah.
someone who can run very fast, but that's their semblance, say a la Ruby, or having someone who can jump very high and that's their
How?
semblance. I don't
I
Although
mean,
know.
here's
I guess the problem being is that because like that leads to like minimizing and maximizing, which can potentially create the unbeatable
Isn't
team. At
that
that point,
something we do in sports now though, in our world?
although let's also take into account that there are
except
other
not everyone has
there are
superpowers.
yeah, that sucks. But let's also remember that there are lots and lots and lots and kinds of semblances. Not all of them are oriented around the classic superpowers. Not all of them are related to super strength, speed,
Mm-hmm.
flight, yada yada yada. There are lots of other kinds which may or may not also be useful in sports,
Yeah, sure.
but and
I,
may or
I,
may
I'm
not be useful in other professions. Although the real question is, why would a person with a semblance decide to go for a certain as opposed to being a if that's another thing?
Would you broke up just a little bit? Would you repeat that, please?
Oh, I said, why would a person who unlocks their semblance and their aura along that would want to go to another profession that's not being a huntsman or a huntress? Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe,
Mm.
maybe they want to avoid danger, or maybe they're scared of Grim and it won't be helping. But we don't get to see that, so like I want to like muse a bit further on it.
Go ahead, Ren.
Well, I was about to say like maybe they're cowards or they're selfish, but she said like maybe they're scared of Grim, so that's all I was gonna say.
Oh,
Mm.
I've had a bit of thought into this in the past, and it's also possible that, yeah, those are definitely possibilities. But also, what about someone whose semblance just does not work for fighting Grim? Like at all, their semblance is literally not useful for that, but they do have it unlocked. Why not put it to use elsewhere?
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
another
definitely a
good point.
possibility.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think who in the Ruby cast has that type of semblance where it's not useful in a fight.
Technically, I would say Rin. It's
Oh well,
technically
yeah,
not
Ram was
useful
on my mind.
in a fight,
Also,
but it does have its
also
uses against Grim, though, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
was
Mhm.
Because
also
like
saying that possibly John, but then I realized he kind of supercharges you.
he is basically a semblance loudspeaker.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
I'm about to
representation
I'm
of that.
about to break this down.
Although here's another thing about semblances. If you're creative enough, any semblance can be used for virtually anything. If you're creative enough, you can find a way to fight with with virtually any semblance. Although if you don't have the energy to be creative, then yeah, you could totally shoot for other professions. Like, can you imagine maybe okay, back to the entertainment industry. Can you imagine Emerald and her illusions or Neo and her
Oh god.
illusions?
Mm. They can
Like
make special effects without even needing money.
Yeah,
exactly.
like they would be they would like dominate the market. Fuck doing crime. Be a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, although if you think about it, Neo would be better for the job because Emerald can only work on she can work on doing illusions for more of the senses, but she can only focus on one, tops two minds at a time, whereas Neo can make physical illusions.
I was about to say Neo would be the perfect mime.
Well, well, that's a given. She
Haha.
already is the perfect mime. She is our lovely ice cream mime.
I
Since
mean,
you've
who wants to stab you?
yeah, since you've kind of started this down this topic, yeah, I'll start off with saying that I think Emerald could work with her semblance in a play format, right? Like doing plays, where she's literally the only one who needs to come on stage and just use her semblance, and there's the play for everyone that they can see
Yeah.
now. But
This is this would be provided that she develops her semblance in the direction of targeting more minds.
yeah, sure. But since you started this down that topic, though, what other potential jobs, I guess you would say, do you think some of the other Ruby cast could hold with their semblances?
Hmm. Well, we saw
Um,
Jean is able to heal with his semblance. He's not just a
oh,
semblance
he'd be a
amplifier.
perfect doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, that
Um,
begs the question: does someone else's semblance or aura have to be unlocked for his semblance to work on
that's
them?
a good question.
Probably. But I'm
Let's
pretty sure that at this point he'd be able to unlock other people's auras. But
assuming that it
Yeah.
doesn't, right? Just going off of that assumption, he would be good for a doctor. If it does, might still be good for a doctor in
maybe
specific situations towards maybe
yeah.
hunters and things of that
Yeah,
nature. But
he could be like the official doctor of one of the huntsman academies.
Field medic, something
sure,
like that.
I
yeah.
mean,
Also
Crow could be a secret spy. He just hangs around the enemy and then shit.
and
Hmm.
screws
Oh,
them
This is
over.
true.
He'd have to sneak into like all the really important places to cast bad luck on all the really important stuff.
Hmm.
Because if he just
um,
hangs around bars trying to eavesdrop, which is, mind you, something he already does in the show, then it depending on like if he can control severity, then the worse.
I, th-
Then we don't know
I
what
think
he'll.
I think in AMA it has been said that Crow does have some control over how severe it can be.
Ah,
I think I've read up an AMA about they've at least mentioned that in passing.
okay, fair. So if he so if he has some degree of control, then he could like tone it down when he's around people, company, whatnot, and notch it up all the way. He could just like, I could just imagine him, but theoretically in our world, if he were against the United States, he could just turn into a crow, fly through the vent, through the Pentagon in the vents, or infiltrate Area 51 and just notch up all the bad luck, and then all the aliens escape.
I was
Mhm.
just like, how would Nora use her semblance outside of fighting? she, um, oh, she
Again, like
works on like the
not
shit.
everyone is going to work, right? Like obviously,
Yeah.
Yang would be a bit difficult as well. You could, I suppose, argue that she could be good for like fighting tournaments, right? Like boxing or
boxing.
mixed martial
Yeah.
arts, stuff of that nature, because obviously, that's going to be very entertaining to watch someone doing okay but losing, then all of a sudden the fight can completely change potentially.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or human lightning rod.
Yeah. Although she can't, I guess for Nora's case, it would have to be getting struck by lightning and then just doing a whole lot of work very, very quickly and very, very efficiently.
Exactly.
Not,
I mean, we know that she can't survive getting struck by lightning. That's how she unlocked her semblance. Got struck by lightning, didn't die. Crazy Thursday.
Was it
Mhm.
Tuesday? No, Thursday.
No, it was Thursday. It was Thursday for a reason, because Thursday is the day of the week named after Thor. Sound familiar?
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's good to know.
I
I
knew that.
did not know that.
Side note, we should probably also start referencing the chibis, because even though
Oh
it's
yeah.
not canon, it's really relevant to all the questions we have today, because they
Sure.
kind of slip into the IRL stuff. Like, there's that whole chibi sketch where they're trying to decide what movie to watch.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Killing 2, the Killiner.
No, it's Try Hard 2. Try
Oh.
harder.
Oh, that one. That's alright.
Yeah.
There was a movie poster for the Mercenaries, and it had like Chibi, Locus, and Felix.
Mm.
You know who those guys are?
Nope, not really.
That's a
Oh,
red versus blue reference.
Yes.
I haven't seen what Red versus Blue.
It's so good.
But we're here to talk about Ruby.
Yeah, I was just.
Yep,
I was,
Yeah.
that we
I was
absolutely
just-
are.
yeah, I'm not. I wasn't.
Red
trying to-
versus
I know,
blue,
I'm
more
just
like
giving
red
you a hard
versus
time.
boo. Red
You know, I
versus.
could. I
I
could
can
imagine
kick
like
you.
Ouch.
I could imagine people with very simply explained semblances, stuff like manipulation of things, like all the cliche element manipulation stuff. They could
Mhm.
do very basic, obvious
can
work. For example, like farming could be done by someone who could control plants or the earth,
Mhm.
or imagine someone who can manipulate electricity working at a power plant. And just
Mhm.
like
Sure.
they would pay tons for someone to just charge up the whole town with electricity, which mind you is actually something that we've seen in the Legend of Korra, but I digress.
I can see Weiss becoming a chemist of like dust.
But that's not really semblance relevant to her. I mean, and
she has dust manipulation. Isn't that her semblance?
no,
No,
her
it's the
semblance is
glyphs.
glyphs. She just
That's
uses
that's
dust through them.
that's. I'm pretty sure that's Cinder's semblance.
No, her semblance is glass.
We don't
Does
really
it
know
actually?
what Cinder's semblance
Yeah,
is at this point.
yeah.
It-
It
it-
I
hasn't
mean, we
been
don't
really.
know. Yeah, we don't know what's like maiden power bullshit TM and what's her
Yeah.
semblance.
What's magic and what's dust and what's what? It's kind of confusing. So never mind all that.
Raven would absolutely destroy the transportation industry.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Very
it'll
much-
be
no,
gone
no,
overnight.
not really. She can only do portals to people she connects with.
This is true. She would
Exact-
need to have connections to people in very specific locations and have them there, and they're all a part of the business.
And we all know that
Yeah.
she's
You live here
antisocial as
now.
fuck.
She just needs
Yeah.
to tell one person, you live here now, you can never move. Here's your pay at the end of the week.
Yep.
Oh god, can you imagine if like the one person she's connected with are like on the other side of the platform and then the portal opens and the person just walks out onto an oncoming train?
Oh
I mean,
no.
again, you got to pick the right place to be and all that. But
Maybe Raven could work with doing this, but instead of it being just like local and expensive, it would be reserved for like politicians and people of high status, people who need to get around quickly, discreetly, and instantly.
you elitist. You terrible elitist.
I'm not a terrible elitist. I'm just being practical. I mean, okay,
I
let's
mean-
think. I mean, there's probably someone else out there with a portal-related semblance. It's not exactly like Ravens, but it's still
Oh,
the
sure.
idea
I like
is creating
teleportation.
portals. So
Yeah. Or teleportation. Yeah.
or just in again just creating portals in without any conditions or anything, and they could easily teleport people from here to there and everywhere. You could like gather a bunch of people who all make portals, and it'll just be one big human delivery system. Like, oh, you want to go there? Done.
Can we just talk about how Pyrrhus semblance, if it was properly developed, can fuck up the Earth's magnetic core?
Well,
Oh
yeah.
boy, but that's not gonna happen anymore, is it?
When
No.
she gets really upset, she just flips the poles.
Oh
That is
no.
something, I guess, to bring up a little bit, though. Like, you do have all these semblances and aura, and, anything you come up with that's a real world that could work within Remnant, that's, equivalent to real world concepts and things of that nature. You have to, you always have to consider how can that go wrong, and how is or can that be affected by the presence of Grim, right? Like,
Yeah.
as for the transportation industry, like, that's definitely something that you have to be more concerned about, especially if you're transporting people, because of Grim, depending on the distance you're transporting them over, and even goods as well.
Like on the Argus
would
Limited.
have to be different. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
like on the Argus Limited, they had the two huntsmen, but as we saw, it wasn't enough, and if it weren't for Team Ruby, they would have all been dead. Well, sorry, Team Ruby and Team Juniper, forgive me.
You mean you mean Team John, Ren, and Nora, and the dead one?
I think they call them Team Junior in the commentary.
Although, mind you,
Junior's not a color.
if you include Oscar, he could be the new P in Juniper, Oscar Pine.
Oh no.
Or it's just
yes.
and it's Team Orange now. But
yes,
anyways,
you know what?
off topic.
But that would imply that Oscar is the leader. But yeah, off topic. Moving right along. Huh. Let's think.
Let's look at the topics.
What?
Let's look at the topics,
topics.
he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, getting this is definitely going to be a bit of a difficult one, right? To keep completely with
Because
the questions that I set up for it, because there's a lot that you
it's
can
so
go into.
broad.
Yeah, that as well.
Yes.
But getting back into the questions, I suppose.
Here's a question. Here's
Or
a
go
semblance idea that could. Here's a semblance idea that could make you potentially the most important person in the whole world, or remnant, or whatever. Technopathy.
What?
Technopathy, the ability to mentally connect to technological devices, the internet.
Oh boy.
Are you talking like Ally? Are you talking about like Ally Ghost in the Shell style?
I have no idea what that is.
Ghost in the Shell is an anime.
Let me. Can I think of an example from the media? Think like the Matrix,
Hackers?
but think like the Matrix, but with control. That you're able to just like enter the World Wide Web mentally, access everything, and tell electronics what to do. In a world of electronics, in a world where even personalized huntsman weapons tend to be electronic, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Not a lot there to add. Like, it's definitely, we don't quite know, right, the limits that can be placed on semblances, and how far you can go with semblance ideas. We assume that it's pretty much unlimited, but we don't inherently know, because creators of the show really haven't come out and stated specifically like anything in regards to semblances and auras, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So it's hard to say what could be possible and what couldn't.
Yeah, although from what we understand, every person has a unique semblance.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that they have similar semblances with different conditions or with different ways of being applicable.
Mm-hmm.
Like the same way that Neo and Emerald have both have semblances of creating illusions, but they're two totally different kinds of illusions. Or the same way that Yang and Adam are both about absorbing hits and then dishing them back. But Adam absorbs them into his weapon, and not Blake, Yang absorbs hits into herself, and it's all punch work.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have various semblances that are similar yet different, and the differences are what can decide if a person would want to use their semblance in a career of being a huntsman slash huntress, or in a more society assisting career.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
Mm.
Getting back to some of the questions, though, would you like for any of these concepts to exist in Remnant?
It would be
Yeah,
cool to see them explored, but not in the main show because the
Yeah.
main show needs
Nah.
to be like the plot going forward and stuff.
yeah,
I mean,
because
we
like
don't.
More so than exploring
Well, since
menial stuff like this.
So you would like
Yeah.
to see them possibly explored in maybe the novels or
Yeah.
the manga,
Yeah, like-
I guess, things of that nature.
yeah, it's some world building. We would like to it would be cool to see things that are done in our world done on Remnant, which would
Mhm.
probably be not too different, but at the same time they could have unique zests. Like back to movie making. I know this is being annoying, but instead
No,
of
you're fine.
semblances, imagine you doing all sorts of effects with dust. You could
Yeah.
create artificial tsunamis or
Hmm.
glaciers or
Actually,
volcanoes.
Actually, a interesting thing just came to me. Is like before the like during the Age of Gods, where we had the brother of evil, and the brother of good, or light and dark, however you go, were like alive, and they were like present
Magic.
on the were present on the basically magic. Did people have semblances at that time? Because
The idea is no, because they had magic, and semblances and aura are the remnant of that. I think that's the
Yeah.
current idea that
okay,
people have.
I have a theory relating to that. I had a thought. I wrote about it in one of the channels here on Discord, but here's the thought. What if like the whole thing with magic with someone as being a remnant of magic, yes, but the precise way that happened is all magic was taken and just shattered into very small, very specific superpowers and distributed across all of the people of Remnant.
So what you're saying is that semblances are magic?
Yes, they're fragments. They're remnants of magic. Each one on their own is a remnant, but if you put all the pieces together, you would essentially get magic.
It's a good idea, but it's also kind of needlessly complicating things in a way.
so are you
Well,
telling
you
me
could
that
just
we have to
like
commit?
not to be rude, but you could just again it kind of comes back to that keep it simple stupid thing where just say it's a remnant of magic. That's it. No need to be more complicated with it. You could be. There's nothing wrong with that, but it all depends on what you're really looking for and wanting to do, potentially. Bleh.
Yeah, like again, this is just my theory.
Oh sure, nothing wrong with that at all.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything here we hadn't discussed yet?
Since you kind of keep bringing it up, the entertainment industry, you would definitely location shooting. That's definitely something you'd have to be more iffy about potentially because of Grimm, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
Actually, I would willing to bet that the majority of movies are shot within the kingdoms themselves.
Mm-hmm. Within
Because,
their
like, you see-
specific bordered walls and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, or you like your protected towns, because we've seen what happens when you go outside the kingdom's protections with Anayuri.
Mm-hmm. Kuro
Yeah.
Yuri,
And that
Kuro Yuri as well, I think. Kuro Yuri.
No. Oh no, Kurayuri was attacked specifically by a Grim, a Knuckle V.
Yeah, but like that's an
So-
outside town that kind of fell outside
Yeah.
of the kingdom protection, right?
Yeah, but there are
Kuroyuri-
lots of those.
Oh, sure. Like it was just giving another example.
Fair.
But actually,
but yeah, like
oh, go ahead.
oh, I was about to say, like, yeah, that's not like willing to bet like the majority of films are shot within the kingdom or something like that.
Bringing
And how would they have scenes? Like, they can't all be indoors type sitcoms or whatever.
I mean, have you seen the Avengers?
Eh,
That's pretty
not
much filming in a. It's pretty much filmed in a city. Not much. Not much there.
fair.
Anyways, you were
not
saying.
all
You
of
saying
them
Wolf?
are, but bringing up towns, right? That's an interesting topic because going back to our main example here, the entertainment industry. How would movie theaters work in those unprotected towns if you have to worry about potentially making a movie that could make people tense or fearful or sad or anything of that nature with the grim roaming about?
It
Sports
sounds like a
even
very.
as well, like those, more unprotected towns, would they even be able to do sports?
Yeah, because people can get uppity if their team loses.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they wouldn't be able to do official professional sports, but they could very easily, like do village type stuff. The same way that the ancient, the not ancient, like way back in England, I once read that they used to play soccer between villages.
Hmm.
That was like that, so the field would be miles long. It would just be like all one whole town versus another whole town, and yeah. So maybe they could do stuff like that. That's great fun. It's simple village fun. And like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Sounds like
it's a huge contrast between the city slash kingdom life and the rural town life.
Sounds
Mm-hmm.
like a We Happy Few situation.
Hmm.
Maybe, kinda.
Although this is another topic that like is written here, the polarity of how we have, on the one hand, we have the kingdoms with all the extreme fancy schmancy tech protecting them from Grim and all that, and the military and the CCT tower, and on the other hand, we have the rural outside kingdom towns, which usually manage on their own.
We do know a lot of the outlying towns, as of after the fall, most of those outlying towns, if they're above a certain size or certain something, I suppose, they have,
Population, perhaps.
yeah, possibly, they have their own mini CC towers, right? Like they have their
Yeah,
own
they have
version of that,
locals.
yeah,
Yeah.
to bounce signals around a little bit further, things of that nature. So those
Actually,
exist. So some of the towns do have some of that technology.
it's actually kind of interesting because the question that kind of needs to be somewhat answered is like, what is the density of population of Grim currently in Remnant? Because I know they can appear, they like Salem can make them appear out of nowhere
We also
and
know they have the
on
spawning pools too.
yeah, en
Spawn out of.
masse. Yeah, but so, like, what is the current population of Grim? Like, because it's
Well,
because
it's
there are
ever
there are there,
changed.
there are small local towns. There are small local towns that exist. They don't seem to have much protection. Like maybe one or two huntsmen. But if that's the case, then there's clearly not enough Grim that it's literally swarming the landscape.
I guess the simple assumption is there are at least as many Grim as there are people.
Oh boy.
I mean, you say that, but we don't exactly know how many people there are either. And as far as we can tell, it doesn't seem like there's many people either.
Yeah, well,
No.
we haven't actually yet seen the entire kingdom, any one entire kingdom except to Atlas.
Mm-hmm. We've seen a map layout for Vale, but that's about it.
Yeah, we do. We did see
And
that.
Vacuo is 70% desert.
Mm-hmm. Well, getting back into it, this is very much a topic that is very much akin to fan fiction. Would you be interested in seeing anyone write fan fiction about any of the ideas that we've talked about here? Like, say, fan fiction about Ruby, but focusing on the idea of entertainment or sports, even, and how that could work within this world.
Like a fan fiction of Team Ruby getting a movie done of all their adventures.
Well, let's say that, or let's say it's completely original characters, right? Like it's something that entirely focuses
Yeah.
on away from Team Ruby. Would you
Yeah,
be interested in reading stuff like that, or no?
I mean, the
Mm,
problem with that being is that it's when you're writing such a let's be honest, in the world of Remnant, when compared to what you can be doing when you're like a huntsman, going to the movie seems a bit banal.
Well, not so much
So when
going to
you
the movies, but making a movie, right?
yeah.
I can see how that could easily become boring because you
Fair.
you try not to like you dumb down with all the movie jargon or all that crap. And
Well, what
I
about
guess
sports then? Since that does have more of a active angle, and there can be more action within sports, like say
oh yeah.
boxing or a mixed martial arts tournament that focuses on the use or not use of semblances and aura. Would you
That
like
could
to
be
see a
interesting.
fan fiction about that within the world of Ruby?
Yeah, sure.
Overall, sure. Although, here's the thing. So long as it's done right, then that's what's important. Because like
Yeah, sure.
you could make any concept work, but if you do it wrong, then that just kills everything.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because like some ideas can be really good but poorly executed, and some ideas can be really bad but executed great. And like I can give you a prime example of that. Not even in Ruby. I want because like I saw a Tumblr post explaining it. Basically, a bad idea executed great is James Cameron's Avatar. A great idea
Excuse me.
executed. No, it's a bad plot and idea, but it's executed amazingly. But a great movie idea executed poorly is M. Night Shyamalan's Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, which does not exist. But
It exists only when to be mentioned, and then no longer exists ever
Ridiculed.
again. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, we do not speak of the movie. Dun dun dun. Hmm.
Well, I'll ask all of you this then. Pick one thing and that you would like to see that is a concept within our world that you would love to see within Ruby, specifically the show.
Oh, you know what
Either
I would like
as
to
a
see?
major either as a I guess we'll say as a minor background thing that you can see within the show, or even a major thing potentially that you would love to see the show touch on at some point potentially.
You know what I would like to see? Game shows. How would game shows happen? Like, we've discussed entertainment mostly around movies and sometimes about plays, but we never actually talked about game shows. Reality TV. How would reality TV work? Would it
They'd
even be a
probably
thing?
reality TV would probably be like Cops. You know the show Cops.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
following
Just
Huntsman
following
around.
Huntsman around.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would probably get really good ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if you think of like all the other kinds of reality shows and game shows, like there's Wheel of Fortune and there's Survivor
Now
and
I'm just
Big Brother.
imagining. Now I'm just imagining a character whose name is Chef Ramsay, who's the god of cooking, screaming at someone, "Where's the lamb sauce?" I want that.
and his semblance is obviously food related. His semblance is to be able to take all the to take any amount of ingredients and instantly combine them into whatever they're meant to turn out as.
So what you're
No
saying
mis-
is he can literally turn someone into an idiot sandwich.
yes.
What are
provided
you? I'm an Indian sandwich chef.
provided that of course he has the 2 slices of bread to make it with. I mean, you can't make a sandwich without bread. That's
What would
not a
be his
sandwich.
weapon? What would be his weapon?
A whole
Spatula.
a spatula, but
Spatula.
let's not
A
forget it's
kitchen
also
knife
a
too.
gun. It's
No,
also
Yeah.
a gun.
A
A
frying
spatula
pan.
and a kitchen knife and a pan or something. Like a pan as a
Yeah,
shield.
Imagine
please.
him. I'm imagining him making creme brulees with fire dust shot out of his spatula.
Hang on. I'm gonna search up Ruby Chef Ramsay.
Oh boy.
Please tell me he exists.
Well, I'm gonna throw it over to Ryan. One concept you would like to see the show potentially go over.
Come back to me.
Sure. Caff, you're up.
So a thing that I would like to see in the
Doesn't matter if it makes sense story-wise or not. You would just love to see it within the show, a concept from our world in the show.
concept of, I would actually. Oh, I guess I was about to say like for a forging, but then then I realized that's kind of already in there. I would actually love to. I would actually love to see like a television show and how they mix and refine dust.
Interesting. So I
Like
guess
the Discovery Channel.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or a David Attenborough special of discovering the different types of Grim.
Oh
And
gosh.
here we have the Alpha Beowulf.
No,
Oh,
better.
shit.
Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin as a huntsman.
Yes. Yes. Oh, crikey, mate, look at this Alpha Beowulf. Oh, I've got to get a bit closer, mate.
Amazing.
Better not find any manta ray, Grim.
Oh.
Oh no! Too soon, man.
Oh.
Too soon,
Too
demon.
soon.
Too
As
soon.
as an Australian, it's too soon.
Way too soon.
Fair.
It's always too soon with Steve Irwin.
May he rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
That'd actually be very interesting and very dangerous. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess like all the information they have, someone did have to technically do that at some point, go around chronicling Grim and discovering what they can do and all of that. Someone
Yeah,
had
like-
to figure out how
like-
the apathy worked. That poor
Yeah,
soul.
like in volume 6, right? There's that scene where they're in the lesson with Professor Port, and there's all the sketches and the writings and details. Someone had to do all that. I'm
Mhm.
like I imagine that someone actually like sat out with a notebook and just spectated and took notes, and or actually fought against them and then took notes while they were still fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
Something I'd like to
yeah,
see
go ahead.
is like actual hunters, like what they do in the wild and how they avoid the Grim or whatever.
Oh. So like hunting for food,
Like-
things of that nature.
Yes.
Oh.
Or
Like
or
actual
game.
hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or game. Although how legal would that be? Like what would is Remnant's or just each of the 4 kingdoms overall policy on animal hunting? Grim animal.
Actually, that brings up an interesting question because clearly in Ruby we have humans in faunus, and of course there's still going to be animals like deer and all that shit. I wonder what it's going to be like if you went out hunting and you shot a deer. I mean, would there be like animal rights activists in terms
One
of
sec.
like?
Oh, sure. Take your time. Specifically, After the Fall does have something about this where they do kill animals that aren't Grim. Although, particularly, these aren't animals that we would find in our world. These are giant crabs, essentially, right? And
We have giant crabs in our world. Have you ever seen a coconut crab?
They're not as big as these crabs were.
Oh, okay.
These crabs, if
Fair.
I'm not mistaken, were described to be probably bigger than your average house that you've seen within our world. Like they're
Oh,
that big.
fun.
What the hell is a Skyrim?
Maybe.
Talk to After the Fall. But anyways, that's a topic, that I would love to talk about in a future video. But for now, right, like we do know creatures like that exist, and they also had basically remember I'm not gonna remember the name correctly, but Avatar: The Last Airbender, the giant turtle. Do you remember
The
that?
lion turtle.
The lion
turtle, yes.
All right, I'm back. What did I miss?
Right, we're just talking about animals that exist within Remnant that are not animals within our world, right? Like they brought up the idea of hunting them.
So far we've only seen one non-grim, non-human, non-faunus character, and that would be Zwei.
Yeah, so we do know dogs exist, but yeah, we also know that right. Like I said earlier, we know that crabs that are as big as a house exist, right, or close to that size, and it's varied somewhat, but they exist, right? And we also know that if you remember the lion turtle from Avatar: The Last Airbender, that something akin to that exists within Remnant. Specifically, these are things that exist within Vacuo, but we do know Remnant has creatures like this that are of non-real world, things. Like we don't have things that are that big, crab or turtle wise.
Yes.
So I would say, and like in this, like we have Team Coffee kill the crabs to save someone's life, but they also say within Vacuo, hey, that crab meat is useful, it can be eaten. We're taking that to the person they say that they were taking some of the crab meat back to town. So we do know, like, they do hunt animals and they do eat animals. At least
that's fair.
giant crab animals, anyways, in Vacuo.
Because why not?
Why let
it go to waste?
Sure. Giant crab.
It's free real estate. Yeah, it's free real estate.
Yeah, you say that they do climb on top of the giant turtle to travel around for a bit. So,
fun.
So technically, it is free real estate.
Well, yeah, they basically now have a giant house, and it's a mobile house.
Yeah, this is true.
Living inside of its shell or something.
Maybe.
I guess.
Or maybe on.
Oh, go ahead.
Maybe on top of the shell.
Then it wouldn't really be a house. It doesn't have a roof.
Actually, if there are hunters, I wonder if there are poachers.
Who would poach Grim? Like, there's Grim.
The better
Endangered
question.
Grim would be a good thing.
If you think about it, huntsmen are just Grim poachers.
The better question there would be, who would protect Grim? Specifically,
Yeah.
Other than
Salem.
Salem. Yeah, other than
I
her.
mean, let's be honest. If Salem was common knowledge, a lot of people would want to tap that.
Yeah.
Don't mind me just gonna ban Caff for a second.
No.
Mute him.
No. There will be no banning this podcast.
Muting then. Muting. I can do muting.
No.
But yeah.
I'm about to...
So in short,
Well,
yeah.
I'll jump in
Remnant-
last. A idea or concept that I would love to see within the show or the show cover. I would actually be interested in seeing maybe sports. I think that could be fun, especially if you go at it with the idea of semblances and auras are allowed. I think specifically boxing maybe, or mixed martial arts maybe. I think that would be very interesting. Tennis as well would be very interesting.
What if sports teams were divided by semblance type? So people with similar semblances would all be grouped in a similar team, so they could all work with the strategy, and then it wouldn't be so complicated.
That would be difficult from the idea that would potentially lead you into the idea of a certain semblance team being stronger than just about any other semblance team, right?
That would depend also on the users of the semblances.
Well, I think that
Possibly.
someone with like Ruby's semblance speed would be totally unfair.
This
Yeah,
is true.
if everyone
above
had
all
speed,
else.
then yeah.
It would depend on, like, if it's, say, soccer or football, give her the ball, no one's going to be able to catch her, right? Unless there's a semblance out there that can counter hers or match hers in some way, shape, or form, right?
Well, we have seen that Ruby can be stopped from her speed if she's hit. We saw that when Mercury kicked her.
Actually, that's actually a question I want to ask. Could there possibly be a semblance that negates other semblances?
Sure, could
Mercury's dad. Mercury's dad can steal semblances. He stole Mercury's,
And
which is sad.
I'm pretty sure there was someone who blocked semblances in After the Fall. Oh, sorry, what was that?
Yes, there was actually. There was a character in After the Fall who can block people's semblances.
Yeah, but it gave me unnecessary feels. I'm not supposed to have feels for Mercury. Help! No!
So yeah, we do know there are characters that can block or take away semblances entirely from people. We also know that
that's not much of a semblance. On
Well, taking away someone's semblance would make you even the fighting.
Yeah,
like,
but
if your semblance is just blocking someone, you don't even have any other thing. You just fight. So it's just fighting, not even like semblances at all.
Wait, I got the perfect idea. What we do is that we get someone who can take away Crow's semblance and introduce him to them. Brilliant.
No, what we need is to get a character who has the opposite semblance of Crow, someone who brings fortune, and have them neutralize each other.
That'd be interesting.
It's like dividing by zero. You'll create a black hole. Ah, get it? It's the yin to his yang.
Exactly.
Groan, groan, and more groan.
Oh well, we got to finish this podcast with a bang. I
Yep.
mean a yang.
Boom!
More groan.
Is that good enough?
Sure. We'll take it. I guess that's most of this covered. It was definitely an
Oh, yeah.
odd flow, right? So
Mhm.
hopefully people can follow that. We definitely flowed a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
I do think it would be cool to see some of this explored in a future book or something.
Sure, I agree with that entirely.
Although I do actually want to see it in the show itself, because world building should be done in the story itself, not
Well, you can
that.
always do something that's called soft world building, where it's done in the background. It doesn't necessarily have to be the main focus or part of the plot. You just have it in the background. Like, as an example, we know news within the world of Remnant exists because we've seen characters watching the news.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be an example of soft world building, where it's world building done in the background.
Yeah, I guess.
Any closing thoughts, Caff?
Not particularly.
All right. Tiger?
No, nothing jumps to mind.
Okay, then. Well, if everyone is done, that has been all for us here at the Cacophony. We do hope you've enjoyed, and if you want to get in touch with us and talk with us about many different things, come check out the Crow's Nest podcast. You can find a link for it in the description below the video on YouTube, as well as you can find a link for it in our About page on YouTube as well. Come join us. We're all there, plus everyone else who's worked on the podcast as well, plus plenty of other people who are really enjoyable and fun to talk with and to. With all of that said, we do hope you've enjoyed. Been a bit weird, but we've all had fun, and we hope you have fun too. And until next time, take care.
Bye.
Bye!